Hello and welcome to this overview of the Ultradian events, also known as Ultradian rhythms, patterns, and cycles. To understand this phenomena, we must first delve into the meaning of biological rhythms. So, what are they? These are fluctuations, patterns, cycles of observed various bodily processes. The most well-known one being that of the circadian rhythm, which has a period of 24 hours. The ultradian rhythm has a period of less than 24 hours, and the infraradian cycle has a period of greater than 24 hours, such as the menstrual cycle. These allow for physiological and behavioral changes in animals in anticipation of the periodic changes in their environment. Here we see the biological rhythm of a human body in one day. We can observe here at the start of our day where there is a sharp increase in blood pressure, bowel motions, and alertness in preparation for the day ahead. As we head to the end of the day, we see that as the body tries to rest and prepare for sleep, we get waning of all these processes. So these ultradian episodes, we know they have a period of less than 24 hours and exist in almost all species of animals. They also exist on all levels of functioning, including on the molecular level, to the cellular level, on a systemic and physiological level, and a behavioral level. So some of the well-described ultradian patterns are those pertaining to some hormones, such as insulin, where we see episodic bursts for processing of glucose, and growth hormone, where we see increases or decreases of rate of production of proteins, cell growth and regeneration in response to its pulsatile activity. Body temperature in mammals, it's known to be around 37 degrees. However, we see regular fluctuations of 2 degrees in response to feeding. A lot of the times, the circulatory system also remains fairly constant throughout the day, but we do see peaks as well in response to feeding, foraging, or predatory evasion, and the various other physiological processes. The sleep cycle is one of the best described ultradian rhythms out there, where we know there are 4 phases of sleep which cycle throughout the night, with each phase having differences within brainwave activity, respiration, muscle tone, and eye movement. It is important to note that the ultradian rhythm itself is not truly periodic or rhythmic. It is better described as episodic, with great variability between one episode to the next, often varying between 60 to 90 minutes, with actually deviations of 15 minutes on either side of this. We all know this is pulsatile and aperiodic, so how is this actually all relevant? So Professor Nathaniel Kleitman in the 60s had extensively studied the sleep-wake cycles in humans and in animals for many years. And it was he who proposed the idea of the basic rest-activity cycle. So it's a cycle that attempts to describe how different ultradian events can actually synchronize together episodically to create an organized physiological change. The basic rest activity cycle was formed from the observation that the 4 different phases of the sleep cycle continue even throughout the awake periods. It was noted that the fluctuation of the brain waves continued, and thus leading to periods of high activity and alertness and periods of minimal activity. This parallels well to the active periods of animal behaviors, such as feeding or mating, and this is interspersed with periods of rest and reclusion. The basic rest activity cycle in animals have found significant findings about how different ultradian events have been aligned together for different processes. For example, in rats and in mice, feeding itself is a complicated process requiring the alignment of many different ultradian events. Feeding itself was first initiated with an increase in the hippocampus signaling, and then this is followed by increased locomotor activity, and then increases in physiological parameters such as blood pressure, heart rate, and increases of temperature. At the same time, there's also increases in metabolism with brown adipose tissue thermogenesis, and also increased oxygen and carbon dioxide production. Together, this forms an episode of feeding, which forms an active part of the basic rest activity cycle. Following this, we get a period of recluse and rest from the rats, and that forms the rest part of the cycle. So, why do these processes occur? There have been a lot of debate about the role of this in animal physiology and the role of ultradian rhythms in evolutionary biology, but the most simple explanation is that it allows for synchronization of compatible processes. For example, in reproduction, reproduction itself is dependent on the pulsatile activity of luteinizing hormone. This allows for the peripheral tissues to become sensitized to shifts in hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, thus priming the tissues for the release of sperm or the ovum. Physiologically, we see there are changes to arousal, and then we also see changes to mating behaviors. And then when we combine the physiological and the behavioral changes to the cellular changes that occur, we maximize the success of producing viable offspring. The aperiodic nature of the ultradian rhythms allows animals to have a very unpredictable activity and very unpredictable routine. This makes them less susceptible to being attacked by predators. There is also suggestion that it may play a crucial role in the communication and integration of various biological rhythms together. This is an area which is yet evolving and lots more research is coming out in regards to this, so keep an eye open for that. So what is the controller for all of this? Initial studies have suggested that the pacemaker cells of the ultradian rhythms may be located within the suprachiasmatic nucleus, since it is also the pacemaker for the circadian rhythm. However, ablation of this region and also its associated clock genes such as PER1, PER2, and BMAL has only resulted in the loss of the circadian rhythm, but the ultradian rhythm remains. The orexinergic regions of the brain have also been extensively investigated due to its crucial role in regulating arousal and body temperature. However, we've only found that ablation of this region has led to insomnia and cataplexy. However, the ultradian rhythm of various other processes actually remain. Newer research has actually shown that the dopamine system in the brain is actually quite important for the ultradian rhythms, where we find that there is changes to the periods of the ultradian rhythms as we change levels of dopamine. For example, an increase in the dopamine level led to a shortening of the ultradian periods, whilst decrease of dopamine levels increased to increases of the ultradian periods. Further studies have suggested that there might be pacemakers and also modulators of the ultradian rhythms which occur in a network, which may be associated with the substantia nigra, the ventral tegmental area, the nucleus accumbens, hypothalamic arcuate nucleus, and the retrochiasmatic area. It is believed that it may be a complex network that exists within the brain, but more research is coming out to investigate this. And this comes to the end of my overview. The ultradian events themselves are highly interesting, very well described, but not very well understood. So there's a lot of research that are coming out, and there's a lot of interesting research in terms of the ultradian episodes and human productivity. So definitely keep an eye out for all the new research that's coming, and thank you for listening.